Public uncertainty over VAT intensifies. Child abuse cases increased by 18%. More details emerge about the Prime Minister's efforts to save the VAT messenger's home, plus an American drowns in Bahamian waters. We've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. I'm Vonnie Toot, and MB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, less than 3 months before the proposed implementation of value-added tax, questions about key details of the tax regime remain unanswered, like the rate of taxation, the possibility of a new implementation date, and will BECB taxed? Financial Secretary John Rolle attempted to address the confusion about that today. Dana Smith reports.
Although the government has yet to say what rate VAT will be implemented at and when, Financial Secretary John Rolle said there is still enough information out there for business owners and consumers to be prepared.
The VAT rate doesn't determine the nature of the preparations for businesses. For most businesses, the question is the item that I'm selling subject to VAT or it isn't? If the item that I'm selling is subject to VAT, then how does my accounting system need to be set up in order to capture this VAT? And that's a decision that is independent of the rate of VAT, because once the VAT is introduced, the rate can vary.
Uncertainty over VAT has grown since Prime Minister Barry Christie said in the House of Assembly last week VAT will be implemented at a rate lower than the expected 15%, but he did not disclose what exact number. Christie also hinted VAT may not be implemented on July 1st, but again did not say what that date could be. F&M Chairman Darren Cash hit out over this apparent indecision, and even Finance Ministry consultant James Smith said the comments were unhelpful and added to public uncertainty. Rolle said he would not comment directly on that, but there is an understanding the reform is needed as soon as possible.
I'm not going to comment on that directly, but I think what is most important is that there is an understanding and an appreciation that the reform are needed now as opposed to later.
As for the continued public concern over VAT implementation, with some businesses complaining they are unable to prepare for VAT without knowing the rate or the date, Rolle explained the ministry is continuing its education campaign and is willing to answer questions about VAT preparation when asked.
The advice that I offer is that you need to make the inquiries and begin to ask the questions. The last thing we want to do is to have a situation where businesses have not done anything, and then they realize at some point that they still need to exert the effort.
Rolle said the focus should be on the need for revenue and on VAT preparation. He said the draft legislation has been released and it includes adequate information for the private sector to ready itself, even if the private sector does not yet know the when and the how much.
We have provided a lot of information. It was not provided in every case in printed format, but the draft legislation that has circulated to the public has, in most material aspect, the framework that will apply for the value-added tax.
As for the implementation date, Rolle, who was the key speaker at Rotary West Nassau's weekly meeting in Sandyport, only said although interest has peaked since the Prime Minister's latest comments, his team has not slowed down in preparations, nor have they received any orders to scale back. Reporting for NB12, I'm Dana Smith.
Meantime, Free National Movement Chairman Darren Cash says there appears to be mixed messages from Prime Minister Barry Christie and his advisors over value-added tax. Cash was referring to Ministry of Finance consultant James Smith's concern over recent comments made by Christie about possibly delaying the implementation of VAT. Smith told the Nassau Guardian that Christie's comments on the issue were not helpful and added to public uncertainty over VAT. Cash, who noted that the F&M does not support VAT, said Christie has failed to inspire confidence in the tax reform process. He said Christie's indecision must be frustrating for those who are working on the implementation of VAT and tax reform. Mike Howe, Member of Parliament V. Alfred Gray, added fuel to the political firestorm last evening when he revealed that Prime Minister Christie took action to save VAT advocate Ishmael Lightbourne's home when a bailiff showed up with a court order to seize the house. It has raised questions in some circles about whether Christie interfered with a judicial officer in the execution of his duties.
If the Prime Minister saved one mortgagor from losing his house, that ought to be praised and not condemned.
As he attempted to defend the Prime Minister, Gray added a new element to the controversy over Christie's intervention with CIBC First Caribbean International Bank, which secured a court order to repossess Lightbourne's home. Lightbourne, who is government's value-added tax messenger, has been under fire in recent weeks for failing to pay more than $100,000 in real property taxes for more than 20 years. Christie revealed in the House of Assembly last week he called the bank's managing director to save Lightbourne's home, a move opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis called an abuse of power. However, Gray called Christie a good Samaritan.
See, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said when he was meeting with Mr. Lightbourne, the bailiff came with the papers while he was meeting with him. And Mr. Speaker, why do you elect people who will not help you if you can? See, Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying to you, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister did not go out of his way looking for Lightbourne to help. He was there, the bailiff was there, and he said, what can I do to help this man?
The Mike Howe MP also slammed the Free National Movement, which asserted that Christie has failed to go to bat for hundreds of other Bahamians whose homes have been repossessed by banks.
That's why the Free National Movement and the people who seem to represent them in this place, God will never bless them if they continue not to open their bowels of compassion to people. This is a people's thing. And Mr. Speaker, Prime Minister Christie may never get the accolade of a compassionate man. But Mr. Speaker, if I am present and the police come to take you out of your house and I say, what can I do to help the Speaker? How could that be wrong?
Unfazed by Gray's criticism, Montague MP Richard Lightbourne questioned whether other struggling Bahamians could expect the same treatment.
I was wondering, Mr. Speaker, whether the member for Mike Howe is suggesting that the Prime Minister is offering to give this same benefit to all those thousands of people out there who are in the same position as Mr. Lightbourne.
This government, through the Ministry of Finance, started the mortgage protection program. I don't want the opposition to forget that. We announced it about 2 years ago. It was not as successful, Mr. Speaker, as the government would have wanted it to be, for whatever the reason.
Gray acknowledged that the government's mortgage relief program has failed, but said the decision to bring the program to Parliament shows that Christie is compassionate. In other news, reports of child abuse increased by 18% last year when compared to 2012. The latest figures were released by the Department of Social Services today. Jasmine Bonamy has a breakdown.
Authorities releasing those statistics today, revealing that there are increases in some categories. According to the Social Services Department, in 2013, there were 490 cases of physical, sexual, verbal, and emotional abuse, incest, neglect, and abandonment. That's up from 417 cases of abuse reported in 2012. Last year, there were 113 cases of physical abuse, 95 cases of sexual abuse, 5 cases of verbal abuse, 9 cases of emotional abuse, 6 cases of incest, 257 cases of neglect, and 5 cases of abandonment. In 2012, there were 100 cases of physical abuse, 92 cases of sexual abuse, 7 cases of verbal abuse, 2 cases of emotional abuse, 6 cases of incest, 202 cases of neglect, and 8 cases of abandonment. The statistics were released during a press conference to announce plans for a Child Protection Month in April. Minister of Social Services and Urban Development Melanie Griffin says child abuse is a serious issue.
I need not tell you that the effects of child abuse and neglect are not limited to childhood, but could have consequences throughout life for victims, their families, and the society.
Reported cases of child abuse have fluctuated over the years. In the last 8 years, there have been 4,529 cases of abuse. In 2006, there were 618 cases of child abuse, and in 2007, there were 250 cases of abuse. In 2008, which recorded the highest number of reported cases, there were 701 cases of abuse. While the number of reported cases has dipped in recent years, officials say there is nothing to rejoice about. The minister also noted that more preventative and protective measures need to be taken to combat child abuse. She says while there are laws in place, they will no doubt need to be updated.
We must always be about updating, and so we will be reviewing the Act to see what other improvements can be made. As we move forward and as we examine the legislation and our social experiences in the country, then we have to be able to upgrade our laws to ensure the protection of our children.
She added that her ministry is working closely with the Attorney General's office. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
A mother of 4 is furious after her 25-year-old son was allegedly shot by police during his arrest this morning. Police say the young man is a suspect in the recent murder of Carlos Colebrook. Intelligence led officers to a home on Soursop Street, Pinewood Gardens shortly after midnight. When they entered the home, police say the suspect pointed a handgun at them, and in fear of their lives, officers shot him in the abdomen area. He was taken to hospital. Carolyn Neely says the suspect is her youngest son, Darren Neely. She told NB12 she believes police have the wrong man.
I don't believe that. Never in history. He would never do something like that. He's a loving father. He's one who really cares for children or other people's children, even his friends' children. You know, he have one or two friends who might have passed away, and he really does what he can do to help.
Neely says she was not present when her son, a father of 1, was arrested, noting he slept out for the past 2 nights. However, she says she does not believe the jet ski operator had a gun, and she hasn't been allowed to see him since his arrest. She says it's not the first time Darren has been arrested, noting police arrested her sons late last year but eventually released them. The grandmother says she visited police headquarters and the Central Detective Unit but still hasn't gotten any answers.
I really looking for some sort of answer from the police commissioner. And I must say that I'm not going to leave any corners unturned. I want some answers because I'm sick and tired of the law harassing my children, my sons.
Assistant Commissioner Anthony Ferguson confirmed to NB12 today that Neely was a suspect shot this morning. He told us he has been released from hospital and is now in police custody.